All right, welcome to a new video. Today I want to share with you three books that helped me become a better storyteller. I am Dragana. I am a lead animator at Steamroller Animation, and I'm a content coach for animators and animation studios who want to promote their animation IP online or just animate for social media or promote their passion project, short film, games, whatever they might doing, and how can they basically optimize their short form videos for virality. So you can check more info about the program below, but let's dive in. So first book is this one, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. I really love this book because it helped me realize it's mostly about how Hollywood storytelling is translated into businesses and marketing. And if you are running animation schools or offering any kinds of animation services or products that you are selling, this is super useful book because it teaches you how to think about your client and how to think about yourself. And this book says that we as coaches are guides and clients are heroes. Heroes are the one who are going to basically go under a change or a transformation. So usually they go from a place, I don't know, I'm confused with my content. I don't know what the hell am I doing? I'm spinning in circles. I'm copying trends. Nothing works. Help me. And then I, as a coach, am coming as a guide and helping them make a transformation in learning what are some of the ingredients of viral content and how can they basically shorten their time and transform themselves into a better content creator. What most businesses make a mistake is by making themselves a hero and talking about themselves a lot. And there is a fine balance between that, of course, because you do want to show yourself a little bit to your audience, share your journey, your struggles, give that credibility why you're eligible to teach whatever you are teaching. But if you go over that line and that boundary where you make yourself the hero and completely forget about your client, the client is like, well, what the hell do I need you? I'm going to find another helper or another mentor. And usually in movies, that would be like a Dumbledore who is helping Harry Potter or Gandalf who is helping Bilbo. And we as coaches are guides to our clients who are the heroes. And that is kind of the first thing that I realized reading this book and how basically this writer created a blue ocean by merging Hollywood storytelling and branding, business branding. So I find that really fascinating. Every time I see that in business or anywhere else, like, I don't know, this business that blended yoga and puppies, or how Cirque du Soleil blended acrobatics and theaters. So every time I see a blend of two spheres, I found it really fascinating because usually that business is successful. And the second thing I realized reading this book is how important it is for the hero or for the client to have a plan. How human psychology is basically engineered and wired to have some sort of plan, some sort of steps. And ever since then, I knew that before, but I wasn't really embodying it. And right now, honestly, I'm using it anywhere and everywhere. Like when my husband asks me what do we need from a grocery store, I write them in a list like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or I write them in such a way that it's easy to follow instead of just a random listicle. And for clients, that's important because when they enroll in a program, they want to see what is the first lesson I need to watch, what is the second, what is the third, kind of like a school system a little bit. What are we teaching in the first grade? What are we teaching in the second grade, and so on. The same thing is in storytelling for social media. So if you're gonna say, I'm gonna animate this walk cycle, first step is gonna be find a reference. The second step is gonna be, I don't know, make that reference in Maya and do some basic poses. The third step is gonna be blocking. The fourth step, polishing, and so on and so on. So whenever you have a plan basically for a hero, and you can see it in any movie. Like for example, in the Bilbo Baggins and in the Hobbit movies, first they find the trolls cave, then they not the trolls cave. First they find the trolls by the fire, then they go into the goblins cave, then they go into Trandal's dungeon. So plan is basically presented in all sorts of ways, either in locations or in steps or in stages or in alphabets or in numericals. Either way, people need some sort of order that they're going to go through. Because when they don't have it, we just go nuts somehow. We don't like that. It's too confusing, it's too chaotic for us. And that's why I'm trying now, even in my YouTube videos, you'll see it every time I'm talking about something, I'm always embedding that into some sort of a list. Like here are 3 steps to, here are 3 stages to, like you'll see it in this YouTube video. I have 3 books, and your brain now knows that there are 2 more books to go over. Because if I didn't say that, here are 3 books that I'm going to talk about today, you might start this video watching and not knowing when it's going to end. And our brains just don't like uncertainty so much that they don't like when it's the thing going to end. And for example, I was on this content conference the other week, and there was this content creator that was super skillful and popular, has 500,000 followers on YouTube. So they have this super mega successful YouTube channel. But however, when they came on stage, almost like those storytelling principles disappeared in a way. And he had a plan up to a half of his presentation. I could sense that audience could follow him because he set up a couple of questions that he answered up until the half of the presentation. But in the half point of his presentation, he stopped having a plan. He stopped having a clear goal for the audience. Where are we going to go now? And the presentation suddenly felt like this can go into so many different directions. I don't know where we are going. Like if I'm a passenger on a train, where is this train going? Am I going to end up in New York or in Greece or New Delhi? Like where the hell am I going? And how long is their journey going to take? So I could definitely sense how the audience anxiety started to rise up as soon as we lost the plan, as soon as we lost the goal for the presentation. Even though the presentation was awesome and amazing, but I could sense that our brain chemistry is simply malfunctioning when we don't know where we are going. One thing I didn't like about this book is how books have generally changed when it comes to selling products. Like for me, it's very difficult to read a book either about business, marketing, self-improvement, storytelling, and not find a product the writer is selling via this book. And I just reminisce a time where you could just read a book for a book's sake and not read a book as a lead magnet for a writer's products or services. I don't mind when that is being artistically or nicely done or right, artistically done. And there is an art craft to selling, definitely. But this writer, I felt like he didn't convince me to buy his product. That was pretty cheap, honestly. It was like a $50 AI tool that helps you develop like a whole marketing pitch for your brand by inputting your goals and objectives and who your avatar and clients are. But for me, the selling in this book was so aggressive that didn't prompt me to buy his product. Even though I am an ideal customer for his product, I am someone who could benefit from his product. But I felt like the selling was so aggressive that it put me off. And it's something I really appreciate in reading the books because books always have 2 layers. One is invisible, what you actually read, the topic they are writing on, but then the invisible layer is what is it they don't say. Like I'm always noticing how different writers use suspense in a different way to lead the viewer to read the next chapter, or how some are selling their services but more subtly, and how some are being more aggressive, how some are being more narcissistic, and how some are more humble. So there are all these kind of nuances that you can notice just in words. And to me, that is fascinating, how big of an effect words have on our brain. So that is kind of it for this book. Overall, really, really great value if you want to learn how to serve your ideal client as a mentor and treat them as a hero as they are. On to the next book. The Nutshell Technique by Jill Chamberlain, Crack the Secrets of Successful Screenwriting. So this book was recommended to me by my marketing mentor because it's super useful for learning scripting for short format videos. However, the book was written for actual script writers in Hollywood that are actually writing feature films and long length content. But to me, it was interesting because it basically broke down how you can think about character arcs. This writer basically came up with her own system of breaking down movies and figuring out her own workflow for that type of content. Basically, she taught me how to look at heroes who always have a goal, but the problem is when they get that goal usually comes with some sort of catch. And that catch is going to test the hero's flaw, because every hero has a flaw. Unless if they don't have a flaw, nobody's going to watch that content, whether short or long, doesn't matter. But nobody likes a perfect character. So your hero needs to have a flaw, and that flaw needs to be tested, challenged. And it's something I discussed a lot with my clients in our Zoom calls for their short format videos and their animated IPs online. So they would have their characters and they would have that flaws, but how do you actually test that flaw? How do you actually push that flaw to be so pronounced and so obvious to the audience? So for example, if one character is orderly and likes their stuff neat and organized, how do they react when they're put in a situation where everything is messy, disorganized, dirty, either a situation or in conflict with another character? So that is something where we can test that character's flaw, and it's a perfect opportunity for humor, which goes really well on social media. And in her book, she says that if a hero surpasses their flaw, that means the movie is going to be a comedy or like a happy ending. But if a hero doesn't surpasses their flaw, the movie is basically going to end up being a tragedy. And it helped me think a lot about other movies like Jurassic Park, how initially we have this encompassing story about dinosaurs and this action movie, but the story is actually not about dinosaurs. The story is about Alan Grant, who at the beginning of the movie doesn't like kids. That's his flaw. And how that flaw is being tested by him being put in the middle of the jungle with two kids. And by the end of the movie, he ends up liking kids, and the movie goes well. Everything goes well for them. So it's really interesting to look at content from that perspective. How is actually hero's flaw tested? And if you're working on a short film, think of what are some of your flaws. Especially if you're a one-person show, if you're just you and you don't have a team. Most of the flaws I see in artists is they think they can do it all. They think they can take on the world, they can animate these huge complex scenes, and they can do it all alone. They don't need a team, they don't need budget or resources. They are these amazing Glenkins of animation, and they can do anything and everything. So that is a flaw of naivete or flaw of pride. And now you can tell a story. How did you transform, basically? How did you change as a hero of your own story at the end? So that's very interesting, because you as a storyteller and you as a director, you can choose how you're going to end that story, because sometimes you don't overcome your flaw and then you have a consequence of not overcoming your flaw. Basically, her method is just a different phrasing of a but and so structure. So you always have something like, I went to the grocery store, but I forgot my wallet. When I came back to take my wallet, I realized, I don't know, my money was missing from it. So I went to my husband's office to ask him what the hell is going on, but he wasn't there. So I called his secretary. And so you can see how a story suddenly starts getting interesting when you add but and so, obstacle, like tension and relief, tension and relief, tension and relief, instead of just saying what most people are doing when they're telling stories, is by saying and this happened and then that happened and then that happened, and it's the same problem that happened with that content creator on his conference doing his presentation speech, that he lost the but and so structure that is so essential for our brains in order to follow any kind of story, and he started layering and we humans cannot follow that. So it's an excellent book on learning scripting. So yeah. And the last book is my absolute favorite, Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. So it's my favorite book this year. I read them like 20 or 30 so far, but it's my absolute favorite. And this writer is just amazing. When I first started reading it, I thought, how is it possible that someone wrote a book about such simple topics and that book became insanely popular? And he is giving so much free knowledge and so much valuable information. From him, I learned the most about beginning and ending of a story and how should you think about hero's mindset change. You were angry because your shot got cut from the edit, but at the end you realize that's maybe good because X and Y. So you get to tell a story of a change of either emotional state or mindset state or situational state or a relationship change. So any type of change that you can think of. He also taught me a lot how to think about naming stuff. Like, for example, I made this carousel where I talked about how it's important to basically connect the start and ending of your story. And I named that a boomerang principle. And that is completely made up name. There is no boomerang principle if you Google it. There is no Wikipedia on it. But I could have called it like Dragana's rule or storytelling syndrome or story law or boomerang law. So any type of naming, like you are basically christening something, you're basically giving it a name, so that thing now exists. Any type of workflow you can name. For example, I animate on twos first, and then I convert it to spline, and I can name that Dragana's principle, for example, and then trademark that. But it's a really important story point because whenever you are explaining something, if you are doing explainer videos or something like that, that naming principle can be a point where you prolong to give the answer till the end. So for example, if you ask a question, how does Dragana do blocking? And then the answer is, oh, she does blocking by, I don't know, doing first on twos and then splying it. So that is like question and answer, okay? And if you just give it like that, then it's like for the viewer, like, yeah, okay, so what? There's no suspense, there is no curiosity, there's no teasing the viewer to watch it. You're not evoking any emotional reaction, that you're making a viewer indifferent, which is the worst thing you can do. Or if you ask, how did I finish this short film? And then you answer it by, oh, I finished it by, I don't know, hiring two artists, and then we finished it in like 6 months. And then it's like, you can feel how flat this falls. You can feel how there is no tension, there are no stakes in this story when you put it like that, when you just say, what's the question? And then reveal the answer right away. But by naming stuff in between, you can say, oh, we finished the film by using a relatability bias or by using a boomerang principle. And the viewer is like, ooh, what is that now? So, I mean, it's silly, but it works because you're basically embedding another point of curiosity for the viewer to watch till the end. And his book is so good that I even enroll into his membership program that he has, where he actually puts all his courses into one place. So he has, I don't know, storytelling for business, storytelling with humor, regular storytelling. And then alongside that membership, he has a bunch of different formats for the members. One is, I don't know, come up with a story spontaneously and then edit it. Another one is reacting to client stories. Another one is coming up with a branding and story for a certain product. So for me as a coach, content coach for artists, it's interesting to see different format variations and how each format offers something different to the audience. So I, as a coach, I'm always investing in my own education and my own knowledge because I want to be better coach for my clients, and I wouldn't be as valuable to them if I didn't invest money on my own. How can I expect from them to pay $750 if I can't pay $750 for another course to improve myself? So that wouldn't make sense and my messaging would fall flat. So I always like seeing, it's kind of the same thing with books as with buying courses. It's one thing that you buy, like the visible layer of what you actually want to improve on or learn, but there is this whole invisible layer of seeing, oh, how did this person structure their business? How did they form their pricing model? What kind of teaching formats do they have? How often do they meet? Do they take questions or not? So I get to see like the background of different membership or courses, which is not something you can ever know in advance that you're going to learn it. And that's why I love so much investing in education, and then of course sharing all that with my clients in my own animation for social media program. So that is kind of it. I definitely recommend checking all these three books if you're interested into improving your writing for short format videos or long format, depending on what you are interested in. And that's it. If you are into shorts, you know where to find me and you know where to sign for animation for social media. Check the link below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.